Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Hello and welcome to CBX Business News for Thursday, May 29, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. In our local news, producer prices fall 12% in mining and quarrying industry, while manufacturing edges up 0.1%, reports Statin. Meanwhile, government allocates over $7 million to boost farmer insurance enrollment nationwide. And Dennis Chung, appointed Chief Technical Director of the Finance Ministry's Financial Investigations Division. In regional business news, tax revenues decline in Latin America and the Caribbean amid commodity price slump. Meanwhile, the Bahamas records a $210.4 million rise in VAT revenue. Government eyes real estate sector for further gains. And Barbados Central Bank launches U.S. $100 million Treasury note offering. And internationally, U.S. Federal Trade Court blocks Trump's tariffs, cites overreach of authority. Meanwhile, Canada's current account deficit widens to Canadian $5 billion in quarter 4 of last year, and U.S. economy contracts 0.2% in quarter 1 2025, first decline in 3 years. Please stay with us. The news in detail right after this break.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
How may I assist you today?
I want to open an account for me and my son.
That's great. Let me see your documents. I understand you want to know about our savings account. Let me show you a few accounts and the benefits of each account.
Why do you need so many documents from my mommy?
It's called KYC, Know Your Customer. This helps us to protect you and treat you right. Thanks for the documents. Take a look at this brochure. Let's discuss savings accounts. A savings account is an interest-bearing deposit account. Customers with savings deposit accounts are covered up to $1.2 million per ban, so you don't have anything to worry about.
This financial literacy tip is brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, promoting financial inclusion. For more information, visit our BOJ Real Talk playlist on our YouTube channel.
Introducing the Corporate Services Unit, your go-to experts for corporate secretarial solutions. We offer statutory compliance, efficient minute taking, registered office address services, management of board and members meetings, setup and maintenance of corporate registers. Stay ahead with our proactive approach to new regulations. We operate under the Trust and Corporate Service Provider, licensed to the JCSD Trustee Services Limited. We're here to simplify your corporate journey, no matter the size of your company. Contact the Corporate Service Unit today and let's streamline your compliance journey together, because your success is our business.
Me grew up and see my granny save her money under her mattress.
Exactly.
Okay.
Your grandmother's house never burned down?
No, how you reach that, so? That was a one-off thing.
That could have happened to anybody. That's why you must put your money in a financial institution and protect it.
What if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in.
What you mean?
JDIC is a financial safety net which provides coverage for your money in case your financial institution fails.
Explain that to me.
Alright, because of the JDIC deposit insurance scheme, once you put your money into a financial institution like a bank or building society, you can get coverage of up to a maximum of $1.2 million per deposit of your financial institution if it should fail. And for even more information, you can visit their new website at www.jdic.org, and you can follow the social media platforms for the latest information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
I'm trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
I'm also trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
start a conversation with the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Check jamstockx.com for information and a list of registered stockbrokers. You can also call the Jamaica Stock Exchange at 876-967-3271 for information on how to begin. I am achieving my financial goals.
I'm achieving my financial goals.
We're here to open a savings account for my son John. I really want him to start saving and managing his own money.
And I need for Save to visit my father in New York.
Okay, based on what you said and our risk assessment, he will qualify for simplified customer due diligence requirements. I'll need your ID, proof of income, TRN, and John's ID as well.
Okay, here you go.
Opening an account is easier than you think using simplified customer due diligence requirements, also called CDD.
Caribbean flavors and fragrances. It started out as a small family-owned business, and now we're a part of a large group of companies. Being listed on the stock exchange allows us a certain prestige. It also speaks to accountability and transparency. We had some fears about getting our information in the public domain, but once we contacted the Jamaica Stock Exchange, who have the knowledge and the experience to guide us, we were comfortable with getting into the process. If you have any doubts about being listed, just give the Jamaica Stock Exchange a call. They'll be very happy to take you through the process and also provide you with information that you may need. Make that call now.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. And now, the details. The Producer Price Index PPI for the mining and quarrying industry decreased by 12% for April 2025, while the index for the manufacturing industry decreased by 0.1%. In a release earlier today, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin says the decrease in the index for the mining and quarrying industry was primarily due to a 12.5% fall in the index for the major group, bauxite mining and alumina processing. The main contributors to the increase in the PPI for the manufacturing industry were the major groups food, beverages and tobacco, and paper products, which increased by 0.2% and 1.6% respectively. However, the overall increase in the industry was offset by a decline of 0.3% in the index for the major group refined petroleum products. For the period April 2024 to April 2025, Statin says the point-to-point index for the mining and quarrying industry rose by 8.3%. This was due to an increase of 7.6% in the index for the major group, bauxite mining and alumina processing. Meanwhile, the point-to-point index for the manufacturing industry decreased by 0.2%. This was mainly due to a 15.4% decline in the index for the major group, refined petroleum products, Statin notes. However, this downward movement was tempered by a 3.9% increase in the index for the major group, food, beverages, and tobacco. The Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, hosted its Manufacturing 360-degree conference today. This conference is Jamaica's only national conference focused exclusively on the manufacturing sector. CBX News caught up with President of the JMEA, Sidney Thwaites, who shared insights about the day's event.
Here at the 2025 Manufacturing 360 Conference. It's been a great day so far. We're about halfway through the day. We've been through a number of discussions and the topics. We had members of the UN here giving us an overview of how they saw the Jamaican economy and some of the challenges and opportunities. We've had a lot of discussions in a panel form and very interactive, both on raising capital, and there's one in session right now on the sustainability. So we're covering a lot of topics. There's a lot of information on the table. The room is full. It's a very interactive discussion. So it's a great as a follow-up to what was a successful debut last year.
He also shared the main takeaway from the conference.
So far, I would say we've had a lot of discussions on the headwinds that we have in the industry, not just from Jamaica, but from realignment in trade policies, from supply chain issues. But the main takeaway that I got is despite all these challenges, Jamaica still has some competitive advantages, our location, our logistics, our connectivity in the region. So I really have enjoyed the discussion so far on how we turn a difficult situation and a challenging environment generally into some benefit and some opportunities.
President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Sidney Thwaites. Meanwhile, Neil Kellerman, Assistant Vice President of Pensions Investments of Sagicor Group Jamaica, the official title sponsor of the Manufacturer 360-degree conference, explained the reason behind the partnership. Neil Kellerman, Assistant Vice President of Pensions Investments of Sagicor Group Jamaica.
And first of all, Sagicor is happy to be a proud sponsor of the 360-degree manufacturing conference. This is a part of a bigger package, MOU that we signed with the JMEA in February 2025, and part of that is sponsorship for this conference. Other than that, we love to support, I would say, the engine of the country. Manufacturers are really important to Jamaica. So we wanted to be a part of it in terms of, sponsoring the conference, ensure it's successful, and that people can come in and get the information that they need to get.
And the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining has allocated $7.5 million to subsidize weather insurance for at least 5,000 farmers across the island. The funds will facilitate access to the Grace Kennedy GK Weather Protect insurance policy designed to help farmers recover more quickly from the impacts of extreme weather events, including hurricanes and droughts. This announcement comes just days ahead of the official start of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season on June 1. Speaking at a post-sectoral talk show and dialogue held on Wednesday at Hope Gardens, Minister Green says the government will be targeting farmers who operate in disaster-vulnerable areas.
We're going to target the areas that we know normally have disasters. So some of them already come to mind, like Bog Hole. When anytime we have any rain, that vegetable belt have a disaster. So we're going to target some of those areas. The ministry is going to pay your base. So what it means, we will pay for you to sign up. If you want to add on now, and the base is like maybe 3,000, 3,500, but you can then top it up, yes? So that you can get a bigger payout.
He also highlighted the critical role of insurance in post-disaster recovery, noting that it not only enables farmers to rebound faster, but also positions them to capitalize on the supply deficit that typically follows a major weather event.
One farmer got like 300,000. Now imagine if you have a disaster and you know 300,000 check coming back, how quickly you can get back out there. And you know, after a disaster, the man who gets up the quickest is the man who is the richest. No, I'm telling you, because when you get back out when things short, you know how that goes. So you get a good price.
Exactly.
And Minister Green is encouraging farmers to take full advantage of the GK Weather Protect insurance policy.
So we have with GK a parametric insurance. What it means, your insurance is tied to how much you pay as your premium and tied to the weather event that comes. So once you hit the threshold, so once the wind passes a certain amount, once the rain passes a certain amount, is an automatic payout. Nobody comes to look if you have loss or not, because it is not based on that. It is just based on thresholds, right? So if you put on $20,000, you hit the threshold, your payment will be tied to the $20,000. If you put on $3,000, so we did have last year 387 farmers who benefited from insurance payout.
Minister of Agriculture, Floyd Green. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service announced on Wednesday the appointment of Dennis Chung as Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division, FID, effective June 2. The recruitment and appointment process was managed by the Office of the Services Commission. Chung brings over 35 years of extensive experience in accounting and financial management, having served in both the public and private sectors. He is a certified public accountant and holds a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Accounting, both from the University of the West Indies. Throughout his distinguished career, Mr. Chung has held several senior roles, including financial controller in various industries and as a consultant. Notably, he served as a project manager, divestment team, and head of legacy operations for the divestment team at Air Jamaica. From 2018 to 2022, he led Supreme Ventures as Chief Executive Officer. Since November 2022, he has served as General Secretary of the Jamaica Football Federation. Now, Mr. Chung has also held directorship at several prestigious institutions, including the Bank of Jamaica, First Global Financial Services, and the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission. With a strong foundation in accounting, corporate governance, strategic management, and transformational leadership, Chung is well positioned to lead the FID. His mandate will include advancing the division's efforts to combat financial crimes, overseeing the implementation of operational policies and systems aligned with the FID Act, and strengthening asset recovery initiatives in accordance with the Proceeds of Crime Act, POCA. Now to foreign currency trading news. At the end of currency trading today, the US dollar is selling for $160.25, the Canadian for $116.15, and the pound for $217.17. The going rate for the euro is $182.01. Up next, trading news from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 112 stocks traded on the JSE Thursday, of which 56 advanced, 32 declined, and 24 traded firm. Epley Caribbean Property Fund SCC, R.A. Williams Distributors, Knutsford Express, and Sterling Investments led the winners, while leading the losers were Epley Limited, Productive Business Solution US Dollar Ordinary Shares, Edufocal, and Proven Group. Now the main index advanced by 3,426.04 points, or 1.07%, to close at 324,371.27. The junior market index also advanced, but by 43.34, or 1.26%, to close at 3,491.23. And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by Carrie Chris, Regional Ratings. For today's Market Education Feature, we're going to be looking at the term quality control. Quality control, or QC, is a system designed to ensure that manufactured products consistently meet and maintain high standards. It fosters a culture where both management and employees are dedicated to excellence. This commitment is achieved through comprehensive employee training, setting clear quality benchmarks, and rigorously testing products to identify any statistically significant variations. Effective quality control relies on establishing well-defined procedures that standardize production processes and guide timely responses to any quality issues that may arise. The Market Education Feature was brought to you by Carrie Chris, regional ratings, global standards. And that's it for Market Education feature and the end of the local segment. Do stay with us. The regional business news is up next.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
You may have fears in listing on the main market or the junior market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Whatever those fears are, we can help you to allay them. Give us a call today. Our friendly professional staff will help you through the process. Let us have that conversation. Give us that call.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Welcome back. We go now to news from across the region. Tax revenues in Latin America and the Caribbean, LAC, fell to 21.3% of GDP in 2023, down 0.2 percentage points from 2022. According to the Revenue Statistics in Latin America and the Caribbean 2025 report released by the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, UNECLAC, this decline was driven by slower economic growth and a drop in global commodity prices. The report also highlights that 14 of 26 countries saw declines in their tax to GDP ratios, with Chile and Peru experiencing the largest drops, mainly due to lower income tax revenues tied to falling commodity prices and increased tax refunds. Revenue from hydrocarbons fell sharply to 3.9% of GDP in 2023 from 4.4% in 2022 among the region's largest oil producers, while mining revenues decreased to 0.59% of GDP from 0.74%. Early estimates suggest further declines in 2024. Despite the downturn, Brazil maintained the highest tax to GDP ratio in the region at 32%, while Ghana recorded the lowest at 11.6%. By comparison, the OECD average stood at 33.9% in 2023, highlighting a persistent gap in fiscal capacity between LAC economies and more developed counterparts. And for the first time, the report includes harmonized data on non-tax revenues, such as royalties and government earnings, offering a broader view of fiscal resources in the region. Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis, has announced a significant increase in the country's revenue from value-added tax VAT, with receipts climbing by $210.4 million, or 18.5% by the end of the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Prime Minister Davis made the revelation during his 2025 budget communication in Parliament on Wednesday.
Since the fiscal year 2021-2022, when the VAT rate was adjusted to 10%, VAT receipts have demonstrated notable growth, rising from $210.4 million or 18.5% by the end of last full fiscal year. This growth reflects both the resilience of the VAT system and the underlying strength of our economy.
However, despite the positive trend, Davis has identified ongoing gaps in VAT collections from real estate transactions.
Despite this improved performance in the overall VAT collections, this administration believes that VAT on real estate is still not being captured fully. We will be proposing additional measures to close loopholes in the collection of this tax.
Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis. And the Central Bank of Barbados has opened public subscriptions for a new US dollar denominated Treasury note, Series 2025-01, as part of its ongoing efforts to raise foreign currency funding and support fiscal stability. The offering, valued at US $100 million, will be issued at par with an interest rate of 3% per annum. Interest payments are scheduled semi-annually on May 31 and November 30, providing investors with consistent returns over the life of the instrument. The Treasury notes will have an initial issue date of June 1, 2025, and mature on November 30 next year. Denominations will start at US $500 and are available in multiples thereof, making the offering accessible to both individual and institutional investors. According to the central bank, the notes will remain available for subscription until the full amount is taken up. The redemption will be made at par value upon maturity. The central bank is encouraging interested parties to act promptly, noting that subscriptions will close once the issue is fully subscribed. And from Barbados, we go to Trinidad and Tobago for their trading news results. 16 securities traded on the TTSE today, of which 6 advanced, 2 declined, and 8 traded firm. Leading the winners were Unilever Caribbean, National Flour Mills, National Enterprises, and Massey Holdings, while today's losers were First Citizens Group Financial Holdings and Scotiabank TNT. Other results include the All TNT Index advancing by 0.15 to close at 1,535.91. The Composite Index advancing by 0.08 to close at 1,046.63, and the Cross-Listed Index remained unchanged at 73.21. The SME Index also remained unchanged at 91.76. And we go for a short break, but please stay with us. The international news segment is up next with Nielsen Rose.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Okay, I just sent the money. I'll WhatsApp you the tracking number.
Thanks, Daddy. I can't wait to buy that PS5.
Listen to me. Your birthday money is not just for spending. You remember what I told your mom? Remember to open the bank account immediately after collecting the money. Your mom has her ID, TRN, proof of address, proof of income, and your school ID.
I'm not an adult yet, so Mommy will have to open the account with me.
Yes. Anyways, I'm headed back to work, so call me later. I love you guys.
This financial literacy tip is brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, promoting financial inclusion. For more information, visit our BOJ Real Talk playlist on our YouTube channel.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, a U.S. federal trade court has struck down former President Donald Trump's sweeping reciprocal tariffs, ruling that he exceeded his authority under the International Energy Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. The decision delivers a significant blow to one of Trump's signature economic policies. The U.S. Court of International Trade found that the tariffs imposed on imports from countries including Canada, Mexico, and China did not meet the legal standards required under the IEEPA. Trump had justified the levies as responses to national emergencies such as drug trafficking and trade imbalances. But the court ruled that these justifications failed to align with the threats outlined in the orders. Key elements of the ruling include an immediate halt to the collection of tariffs, a permanent injunction preventing future modification of the blocked measures, and potential refunds for businesses that paid the now invalid tariffs. The Trump administration has already appealed the decision to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, and the case may ultimately reach the Supreme Court. In the wake of the ruling, Dow futures surged by 500 points, reflecting investor optimism over reduced trade tensions. Canada's current account deficit widened to 5 billion Canadian dollars in Q4 of 2024, up from a revised 3.6 billion in Q3 and significantly above market expectations of a 3.2 billion shortfall. The investment income surplus shrank to 1 billion from 4.2, mainly due to a sharp rise in profits earned by foreign direct investors in Canada and increased interest and dividend payments to foreign portfolio investors. On the trade side, the goods account deficit narrowed substantially to 0.4 billion from 3.2, while the services account deficit expanded to 1.8 billion from 0.3. Meanwhile, foreign investors purchased 49.8 billion in Canadian bonds during the quarter, and foreign direct investments in Canada held steady at 28 billion. The U.S. economy shrank at an annualized rate of 0.2% in the first quarter of 2025, marking the first quarterly contraction in 3 years, although slightly better than the initial estimate of a 0.3% decline. The revised data reflects mounting economic pressures, including slowing consumer demand and escalating trade tensions. The modest upward revision was driven by a robust 7.8% increase in fixed investment, the strongest since mid-2023, which helped offset a sharp 42.6% surge in imports. The import spike was fueled by businesses and consumers rushing to stockpile goods ahead of anticipated price hikes following a new tariff announcement by the Trump administration. Meanwhile, exports rose by 2.4%. Consumer spending, which accounts for more than two-thirds of U.S. economic activity, grew by just 1.2%, the slowest pace since Q4 2023. Federal government spending also declined sharply, falling 4.6%, the steepest drop since early 2022. Corporate profits took a hit as well, falling 3.6% from the previous quarter to 3.192 trillion, the largest decline since Q4 2020. Undistributed profits plunged 12%, and net cash flow with inventory valuation adjustment dropped 4.7%. However, net dividends rose by 1.9%. And on a year-over-year basis, corporate profits were still up 5.1%. NVIDIA's shares surged more than 5% in pre-market trading after the company delivered stellar first quarter results and issued a bullish forecast, underscoring its leadership in the booming AI chip market. For Q1 2025, NVIDIA reported a revenue of $26.04 billion, surpassing analysts' expectations of $24.65 billion. Adjusted earnings per share came in at 6.12, well above the projected 5.59. Net income skyrocketed to $14.88 billion, a dramatic rise from the $2.04 billion a year earlier. The standout performer was NVIDIA's data center division, which brought in $22.6 billion, a staggering 427% year-over-year increase, fueled by soaring demand from major tech players like Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon. Despite an estimated $8 billion revenue hit from tightened U.S. export restrictions to China, NVIDIA remains upbeat. CEO Jensen Huang projected $28 billion in revenue for the current quarter, signaling continued strong momentum. Adding to the excitement, NVIDIA announced a 10-for-1 stock split, which helped propel its shares past the $1,000 mark in extended trading, further energizing investor sentiment. And those were your international business stories. After the break, join Yanil for your recap.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Don't never ever ever wanna calm down. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Welcome back. And now, the recap. Producer prices fall 12% in the mining and quarrying industry, while manufacturing edges up. And Dennis Chung appointed Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division. In regional business news, tax revenues decline in Latin America and the Caribbean, and Barbados Central Bank launches US $100 million Treasury note offering. And on the international scene, US Federal Trade Court blocks Trump's tariffs, and Canada's current account deficit widens in Q4 2024. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Neil Wood, wishing for you a splendid evening, and thanks for joining us.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Introducing the Corporate Services Unit, your go-to experts for corporate secretarial solutions. We offer statutory compliance, efficient minute taking, registered office address services, management of board and members meetings, setup and maintenance of corporate registers. Stay ahead with our proactive approach to new regulations. We operate under the Trust and Corporate Service Provider, licensed to the JCSD Trustee Services Limited. We're here to simplify your corporate journey, no matter the size of your company. Contact the Corporate Service Unit today and let's streamline your compliance journey together, because your success is our business.
Has so much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to